said, wow, other arms? I have never done that before. But because you're all brilliant and you make a whole lot of money, and the students want to make a whole lot of money one day, you all said, okay, nice try, old man, boom. But then some of you made the mistake of getting grown, as my mother said. You broke your arms. And you said, other arm, and you couldn't even figure out how to do it. You looked at your arm as though you know what you're supposed to do. That's how quickly we get into bad habits and roots. Most of the things we do because we simply always done them. Scared to try something different. Life is about trying something different. How many of you grew up in neighborhoods where most of the people looked like you? But didn't you think you knew something about people who didn't?
Yeah.
And where do we get that information?
Media.
Media, parents, particularly when we start dealing with family. A lot of times we do what Grandpa told us to do, not because we believe it, but because we love Grandpa. And we think that not doing that, we're somehow loving Grandpa less, and that's not the truth at all. Grandpa is a product of his generation, his times. How we get so political? I grew up at a time when it was okay for a man to call a woman a girl. In some cases, girl was considered a term of endearment. I called one of these young ladies a girl. I got a fight in 2008. What up, girl? Who you calling a girl? I'm a woman. Slow down, Sparky. I'm sorry, my bad. Didn't mean nothing by it. Because in 2008, too many people wake up looking to be offended, and so everything offends them. Listen to important people talk. They talk forever now and say nothing. Scared to offend somebody. I'm in Missouri doing a workshop and a fly landed on me, and I tell people I had a Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi. I'm still speaking, grabbed the fly, threw it down, stepped on it. Woman in the front row screamed, you just killed one of God's creatures. Like, have you lost your mind? I just killed a fly. I sent a message to the animal kingdom, slow fly lands on big black guys, slow fly dies. Have you noticed no other flies have come over? How politically correct are we? Have any of you ever said hello to somebody or good morning and they said fine? Good morning, fine. I asked you how you were doing, but we instinctively go there. Who's familiar with the concept of political correctness? Who thinks it exists on their campus? I'm going to come back to it. Because we're going to talk about that in a minute. Affirmation. 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 Let me backtrack. I usually do this when I first get started, particularly after a long night. I know you all have a long night. Y'all have a good time? Bastards. I didn't get here to midnight. I hate all that. I had a bad time. A little kid was in my ear. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And I'm thinking the same thing, but you're at 49, you'll just keep asking. I joke about a whole lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, life is real simple. It truly is simple. How many of you would honestly tell me you're tired right now? Anybody tired? What do we tend not to do the night before that makes us tired? What are the students in the room? Who's a student? One of the hardest lessons for young people to learn is when to go to bed at night. A student will stay in a room full of people, all of them tired, and nobody wants to be the first person. They all sitting there, and as soon as the first person says, I'm out of here, everybody, me too, me too, me too. Each one of you in this room at some point, I hope it doesn't happen this morning, but I know the students can flash back immediately to this. Some of you all can't remember this sleep in school. This is the worst sleep in the world.
Yes.
But do you remember as soon as that class was over, you had all the energy in the world? You were dying for an hour. Please, Lord, just let it get to 6. If I shouldn't get 6, if I get to 6, I can make this. She said, I'll see y'all Friday. Oh, yeah, girl, how's it going? This is the ultimate computer. With all these toys we're playing with out here, this is still the ultimate computer. Jump in, jump out. If we put positive things in here about people different from us, positive things will come out. To the heterosexual men in this room, you remember when you were young, you used to be scared of women. That's different from what I do. And I reached a point in my life where I don't care what grown-ups do.
Right.
If you're not hurting nobody else, but hey, get the frick out. Seriously. If two adults, because see, those of you who want to hide behind religion recognize we kill more people in the world every day in the name of somebody's life. So be very careful, because also, who's claiming a religion? Who's claiming some religion? What religion? Christian. Christian. Somebody, some other than Christian. Muslim. Mormon. What if I'm not Mormon? What if I'm not Christian? What if I'm not Muslim? How you going to get mad at me for not living my life by your religion? How arrogant of you is that? That's against my religion. Well, I didn't show up on Sunday at your church. But you get mad at me. And again, we freak out. If we don't do it, we don't expect somebody else to do it. Do your thing. Because whatever making you happy, you're not going to be a threat to me. But again, fear is at the essence of almost everything we deal with here. And if we can get past our initial fears, we're okay. Those of us who grew up around people who didn't look like us, when we showed up in a different environment at first, there was some apprehension. You're like, damn. I used to look around the cafeteria and you'd look like, oh, they crazy. Then I realized they was just like me. They had a little bit more money than me.
Okay.
I used to tell all my black friends, forget all that stuff, all the stuff they said about black folks. Whatever we do, white folks do it way up here. We drink a six-pack, they got a keg. You used to go over the joint, they throw a wing and Affirmation. 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 The first thing is a dialogue where we oftentimes talk about differences. And people are like, why are we talking about our differences? Why don't we talk about our similarities? It's not our similarities that get us in trouble. If I walked in this room and everybody was thin and I'm not so thin, the grumbling would start. It is a dialogue, however, where particularly it has nothing to do with bashing white men. It is a dialogue about differences that has nothing to do with bashing white men. Try to get white men to understand that this room was full of white men, if this conference was all white men, your school all white men, there's still a wealth of differences amongst those white men. Aren't some of those white men gay, overweight, potentially disabled, small town, etc., etc., etc.? And again, as I said earlier, to white men of power in particular, validate the fact that they have something to gain from the dialogue. All we're doing is playing political games. I don't mind, I get paid to play the game. I get to show up and tell us to be nice. And we laugh about it for a couple of minutes. Because at the end of the day, it goes down to what most of your mamas and daddies told you when you were a child. Be nice. Play nice. Share. Please, Steve, share. Well, you say, Mom, we don't have nothing to share. Then just be nice in the space that you share. Oh, you're not good. Affirmation. Action. Affirmation. Action. Affirmation. Action. The first is a dialogue in which we hear a variety of perspectives. Again, has nothing to do with being politically correct. I think right now we're the most politically correct country in the world. But again, we're not learning anything because we're not being honest with each other. Not being honest. How politically correct are we to the students in this room? You all look at a teacher every day looking with your I need an A look on your face in class. And you thinking this is boring as hell. I can't believe I came out in the cold for this. Those who work for a living, you do the same thing that your staff does. You and your staff, when you look at your boss like this, and some of y'all like, man, my boss right here, don't say that. But you look at your boss like this, thinking, how the hell you get this job? If you get out the way, we might get some stuff done. We need less political correctness and more open and honest dialogue. With open and honest dialogue, again, we find that we've got more things in common than we do differences. More things in common than differences. More things in common than differences. Even though we may look alike on the surface, the potential exists for a world of differences, but we don't find it out until we talk. Again, creating safe zones on your campus for people to come into rooms and just be honest. Let the little guy who's never seen a black person in his life tell you that black people don't ever want to work. Tell him, and then somebody come in with the truth.